Hi there, my name is Anna Casimir and I'm one of the participatory democracy coordinators working on People Power Places. Today's project clinic is about evaluation, monitoring and learning, the second of three in total. And we'll be taking you through some of the resources that we went through for the Our Networks events, where we had discussions around monitoring and evaluation. And then I'll also be taking you through the grant agreement forms. So, at the Our Networks event that took place in July, we had a table all about measuring your impact. So, how do we measure our impact? Firstly, we need to understand the difference that we are trying to make. So, what difference are you making or trying to make in the lives of local people, your community, neighbourhood, or environment, and who is benefiting and how? So there are three lenses to really understand this, and here are some of the examples that we spoke about during the table discussions. So firstly, when you're thinking about planet and environment, some of the things that we were talking about were improving local biodiversity. That's particularly true for projects focused on greening the local area that they're working in. You might want to think about resources you're using, such as reusable resources or recycling materials. And someone spoke about actually just getting people to think differently about the planet, about how they are using things locally and recycling. When thinking about people, we were talking about lots of things, and here are some highlights. So, firstly, it's about people coming together to reduce loneliness and isolation, encouraging people to learn new skills or gain new interests, and taking part in activities such as exercise and fitness activities. When thinking about place or neighbourhood shaping your local community, we were thinking about creating accessible and inclusive spaces to meet or creating new spaces such as creative spaces. And we also were talking about the development of green spaces, for example, in the community. So they really help shape the local character of a place. So when you're thinking about measuring your impact, it might be useful to think about it through these three lenses: planet, people, and place. So moving on, thinking about capturing the difference you were making. So how can you show the difference or change that your work is making? How are you capturing or monitoring your impact? And in what ways might you share the story of change? So we were thinking about different ways of doing this. So firstly, there are surveys, so that you can take them before and after an activity or a series of activities have taken place to find out how people feel about it or feel about themselves or skills. So they might have taken place in a crafting activity or skills to learn about how to use their mobile phone better, for example, and how do they feel about their levels of competence before and after. Having conversations, so deep and meaningful conversations to gain qualitative feedback to understand the impact that the project is having on an individual. You might want to capture the number of people participating, so you might have a register. And there are two different ways that you can do this. You could say, over the course of the project, we reached 100 people, and 70 people came to every single project or event, sorry. So you could say, 30 people came for the first time, whereas 70 people came over multiple sessions. There are different ways of explaining that. And then you might want to think about reach. So, how many people know about your project? And one really easy way to do this is through social media. So, for example, if you've got an Instagram account, you might want to see how many people have liked your page, how many people have um, commented on a post. So, that way you get a sense of the wider reach. Some of the things that we were also discussing were about sharing your progress. So this could be participants and how they have progressed in knowledge, skills, abilities, fitness, connection, it could be really broad, it could be anything, and that's something really powerful to share about the story of change that your project is having in your community. And you can share that progress through your social media accounts, your new and co-create tile, or newsletters that you have. Some of the interesting discussion points we were having were around the importance of capturing qualitative and quantitative feedback. So, quantitative is that more statistical, numbers based information. So, that could be numbers of people that you have reached. Or it could be, for example, you do a survey and you say, do you agree or disagree with X, Y, or Z? So, for example, you could say, do you agree or disagree that your confidence has increased through taking part in this project? And so you would then look up how many people have agreed, and you could say 87% of people said their confidence increased because of taking part in this project. And that's really valuable. Whereas qualitative is more that feelings based, that stuff that you get through deep conversations. So it could be saying, um, you had a conversation with someone who took part and they say, oh, I really gained confidence in using my phone, for example. And my family really appreciate that I've developed in these skills because we've been able to keep in touch better. So those two, the 87%, have increased their confidence, and that person giving a testimonial, they're both really powerful pieces of information to prove the impact of your project. I think it's also really important to not capture everything. Really think about what is useful to know. It is not useful to know everything, and by the end of it, everyone will be really fed up with the amounts of surveys and questions that you have asked them. You don't need to know about the contents of their cupboards, for example, but you will want to know about, how connected they feel to their community after taking place, or um, oh, I'm making up on the spot what's coming to me. How they're feeling in their health if they're if they're participating in exercise classes. Are they feeling um, that they're able to do more physical activities because of taking part in your project or sessions? Um, and also thinking about ways to capture this information in an accessible way. So it's not useful to ask people who can't use, who aren't digitally literate and find, phones or computers difficult to fill in an online survey. It's not really useful to ask children to fill in complicated surveys, but you could ask them to do like some dot voting where, you put a question, um, how much did you enjoy today, agree or disagree, and put a sticker under which one they feel that they most agree with. So think about your audience and the most useful way to capture this information. So going to the next part. How can you amplify your project? So, what could help increase your impact? What assets, resources, skills, connections do you have that might help? What could you work with to amplify your impact or overcome barriers? So, we were talking about promoting projects through social media, through flyers, through collaborating with others to help, skill share, but also promote one another's projects. And we also spoke about the importance of benchmarking. I mean, this is important to do at the beginning of projects, so it might be too late in your projects to start this, but think about where they were before they got involved in your sessions and how they've improved now that they've taken part in them. So these are different ways of amplifying your impact. And finally, thinking about the difference that you're making. So, thinking about the wider system, what external factors are affecting your work? What changes needed to address these? and what might be your role. So there are lots of things in this. We spoke about the skills and expertise of project leads. Not everyone has the skills to address lots of the different issues, but together through connecting with other projects and organizations beyond People Power Places, that network, the stronger the individuals are, the stronger the network is, and more and the stronger the system is. So the more we share, the more we're able to do things. But we also know that there really is a lack of resources. And some ways to overcome this is through accessing data of funding opportunities which exist, and I can share that with you when I send out this recording, and also having an access to a database of organisations. So I really hope that this has helped you think about how you can demonstrate the impact of your project. So thinking about the difference you're making through the lenses of planet, people, and place, capturing the difference you're making, amplifying your impact, and thinking about the wider system. Right, I'm going to move on now to talk about the monitoring forms. So the majority of you have already put in your monitoring form phase 1, so I'm going to be talking through phase 2 and the final evaluation monitoring form. So firstly, it's really important, let's make this bigger, to include, who you are, the name of your organization, your name, the project's name, and the total amount that you were awarded. So in 300 words, it'll be great to provide a summary of how you're addressing the local priorities and what has been achieved since phase 1, since the first monitoring report, and any new outcomes. The second bit is around timescales and risks. What are the key milestones that need to be achieved to complete the overall project? How have you mitigated the risks identified in the first monitoring form and what has been the outcome? So you might say that one of the risks was bad weather, but since we've had the summer, we've been able to deliver our outdoor project, for example. And will you be able to allocate and spend the overall grant within the agreed timeframes, which is the end of December? And support for your project. This is a really good way to help flag to your community neighbourhood team or working group whether you require any further support. And please be honest, we would really like to support you to ensure that your project is completed on time. So thinking about income, please include everything that you have spent in total, and please include all receipts so that we can ensure that everything aligns. So, evaluation form. So I should have said, you can find these forms at the end of your grant agreement, which you signed when you first were awarded the funding. But please ask your community neighbourhood team if you need access. So again, please, we love photos. Please include photos. It really helps bring your projects to life. And also any receipts and invoices. Again, please put in your basic information around name of organization, your name, the name of the project, etc. And then firstly, describe the main outputs of your project. You could do this in bullet points, you can do this in a paragraph, however works best for you, but that could be, we delivered 30 family activities focused on bike riding, and we had one major event in the summer, for example. Local priorities. So for each of the local priorities your project sets out to address, please indicate how your project has helped address these priorities. You had 300 words here, so I advise around 100 words per priority if you were reaching the 3 priorities. So this bit's really important for us to know, so please indicate the number of participants and any demographic data that you've collected. So how many people have participated in total? And then how many volunteers have been involved? And then in this piece, we really want to know who has been involved. And please indicate a number or percentage of the participants. So if you reach equal amounts of men and women, you would do 50% men, 50% women, or 20 men, 20 women, for example. Again, age group, if you were working with children and young people under 19, you could put 100% under 19, or if it was a split across, you may know the numbers or provide a percentage. So that goes for ethnicity and disability as well. So moving on, what were the main outcomes of the project? So how has it made a difference? So thinking about what we were talking about in the whiteboard, that lenses of people, place, and planet, and also thinking about the priorities and how they've been met. What were the positive changes to the community neighbourhood? Only if that's different from the above. What challenges have you faced with the project and how have you overcome them? This is really valuable learning, both for you and for us, so that if you were to carry on your project, you would know how to overcome these challenges, but also for us to be able to support ongoing projects or different projects that might face the same challenges. It's really useful to know. Were there any proposed objectives that were not met? We know that things happen, so it's really important to be honest about it. It could be that, we wanted to do, let me think of something. Take 7,800 people, 7,800. We wanted to take 150 people on a camping trip, but the weekend we were planning to go, it was a complete washout and we weren't able to do it. Or one objective was we were planning to do fitness classes and sewing classes and calligraphy classes and another class, but we realised that was too broad and we didn't have the capacity, so we decided to narrow our range to focus on what we know and we feel comfortable in. Feedback and recommendations. So what were the main highlights of People Power Places? We would love to know what's really worked for you. And then what are the main recommendations for improvements that could be made for future cycles? This is really important to help us improve the program and make it easier for people to apply and be part of the program for next time. And this is where you need to provide all the expenditure between a monitoring form 2 and this monitoring form so that we have a total oversight over everything that's been spent. This is public funds. We get heavily audited, so it's really important that we can evidence everything that has been spent. So, and then just sign and return to us. So that's it for today. If you have any questions, please get in touch with your community neighbourhood team. And thank you very much.